multi-value UI elements. We have the select box, combo box, multi-combo box, which are of drop-down category, and then we have seen the radio button group. So we also completed how to read the values from these multi-value UI elements on click of some button as well as on selection immediately. So the moment I select the value, so immediately how can I read these values? So this also we have completed. So in today's class we are going to the next multi-value UI element, which is F4Help or value help. So first of all, what is the reason why it is called as F4Help or value help? Let us understand from the already developed application. So this is our launchpad. Now inside the launchpad, one second, let me change it to Belize. Some of you are facing the problem, I guess. You will do it later. Okay, so let me open employee management application. So here there is an employee ID input field. It's an input field, but if you see the difference between employee ID and name, employee ID has a special symbol icon at the ending, but this input field does not have. So what is this particular symbol? So this symbol is called value help button. This is called value help button, or this is also called as F4 help button. Okay. Now coming to the name, why this is called as value help or F4 help. You need to enter the employee ID. For example, I don't remember the employee ID. I know the name of the employee, or maybe there might be multiple people with the same name, but I know his name, his designation, his skill. So like that, a combination I remember, but not the employee ID. So to find out the exact employee ID, you need help, right? So what we do, we click on this. So this is called the value help button. So when you click on this value help button, it opens a table. Okay, it opens a window. This is called pop-up window. So inside the pop-up window, there will be a table, and inside the table, you will have employee ID. In addition to the employee ID, you will also have the name, designation, skill, whatever. Okay, so whatever the extra columns the client is asking to keep, you can keep all those columns. Now let's say I remember his name is Rupesh. He's a team lead. Okay, so even though there are multiple Rupesh, but still I know that this Rupesh is a team lead with a web skill something, so I can choose the exact row. Okay, normally these kind of requirements will come when somebody are looking for matches for a bride or bridegroom, right? So some of you might have requested you to, by giving their details, like, you know, this is his name, he's working at Accenture or Wipro or something, and they will ask you to see whether he's genuinely working in your company or not, right? So so that is basically the value help, guys. And when you select a row, for example, I am selecting this row called Sailaja, but whatever the row that you select, from the row you need to get only the employee ID. Does not matter wherever you click, so only the employee ID will be picked up and it will be showcased in the input field. So this entire scenario is called as value help or F4 help. Now you understand what is value help, because it is helping you to select a value. So that is why it is called as value help. But why it is called as F4 help? It is called as F4 help. The reason is this particular dialog will open not only by clicking this button, but also by clicking the F4 key from the keyboard. See, I am in this input field. Now I am not clicking that button. So this button I am not clicking. See, I am keeping the mouse very far away. But still I can open this particular value help dialog by clicking the F4 button from the keyboard. See, just now I clicked the F4 button from the keyboard. So since this particular dialog will open even on click of the this F4 key from the keyboard, or by clicking directly through the mouse if you click this button. So in both the cases this particular dialog will open. So that is the reason this is called as F4 help dialog or value help dialog. Okay, now so this is about its theory. Now how to develop it, how to develop a value help dialog. So to develop this value help dialog, so what are the things you need? The first thing you need is, for the input field, at the end of input field, you need this button. So this button is called value help button. So enable value help button at the end of input field. So basically you are going to take an input field only, but for the input field, you have to enable the value help button. Okay, that is the first step. Step number 2. When you click on this button, a pop-up dialog should open, and within the pop-up dialog, the table should be present. Okay, so on click of the value help button or F4 help button, on click of F4 help, open a pop-up, and open a pop-up which contains a table. It contains the table, and the table should populate all the employee data. So here, how do you open a pop-up? How do you open a pop-up? So this particular pop-up dialog, and inside there is a table. So table is a view code, right? So this particular view code, how do you open as a pop-up dialog? So here in the step number 2, we use a concept called fragments. We use a concept called fragments, so that you will understand in today's class. Step number 3. Once you select a row, once a row is selected, get the employee ID from the selected row. Get the employee ID and set it to the input field. All right, so that's all. So these are the 3 steps involved in developing a F4 help or value help. Okay, right. So we are going to see them step by step. Just a moment. Yeah. So let us go to the step number 1. Enable a value help button at the end of the input field. So let's go to our project first. View 1, and I'm going to create a new label. So label text equal to employee ID and input field. So let me format the document. So we have added a label and an input field. So if you want to give the ID for the input field, you can give. So ID EMP-ID. Right. So let's have a look at the output window. So now you got the employee ID, that is fine, but there is no value help button. To enable the value help button at the end of the input field, so what we need to do is, we need to enable the property called show value help equals to true, that part. So if you give this particular property, show value help equal to true, so this will enable show value help equal to true, will enable, will open, will show you this particular icon at the end of the input field. So let us see. Yeah, you got it. But remember, this property will just show that button at the end of the input field, but on click of the button, nothing will happen. See, this is the button, value help button. I'm clicking the button. Nothing is happening. Nothing. Okay. So what we need to do, if you want to do something on click of the button, clicking this value help button is an action. And we know that for every action, SAP will give some event and you can assign a function to that particular action or event, and whatever the logic that you want to write, you can write in that function. Okay. So pressing this particular button also, there is a action. The action name is, guys, just like selecting a value from this select box is an action. So we assigned the change action to this function, if you remember. So similarly, selecting a value from the combo box is an action. The action name is selection change and we assign the function. So similarly, here for the input field, show value help will show the button, that's all. But when you click on the button, so pressing that button is an action. And that action name is value help request. Value help request. So means when you requested for the value help. How can you request for the value help? By clicking the button, right? So with that intention, he has given the name like value help request. Means when you requested for the value help. How can you request for the value help? By clicking the button. So indirectly when you press the button, that is the meaning of this action. When you press that value help button. So what we want to do? So whatever we want to do, we need to assign to a function, right? On press F4Help or value help. On press F4Help. Okay, so copy this, go to the controller and write this function. On press F4Help. Okay, so just for testing, so I'm giving a alert statement. So alert respond testing. All right. So let us see if this alert message will come when you click on that F4Help button or not. Now click this and you can see respond testing is coming. Okay. So very good. So we are on the track. Now actually what should come? When you click on this button, what should come? A pop-up dialog should come. A pop-up dialog should come. Now this particular pop-up dialog, inside the dialog there is a table. So where can I write this pop-up dialog and the table code? Where can I write the pop-up dialog and the table inside? So this particular code you need to write somewhere. So where can I write it? Can I write within the view? No, I cannot write within the view because this has to appear on top of the view. So this is my view This is my view. So if I write my pop-up dialog and the view code, the table code here, it won't appear as a pop-up dialog, correct? It won't appear as a pop-up dialog. So here, so where can we write this particular pop-up dialog, and inside the dialog the table code? So this is the answer for this is, so we write these kind of things in a special views called fragments. Now let us see the definition of a fragment. So what is a fragment? A fragment is a lightweight view or a piece of a view or small view. Okay, so fragments are lightweight view. So why it is called lightweight view? Just like your dedicated view, the fragments will not contain hell lot of coding. Okay, the fragments contains only a piece of the view code, only a small portion of the view code. That's all. It does not contain anything else. So that is the reason the fragments are called as piece of a view or lightweight view or the small tiny portion of the view. But they are also comes under the view category. They also comes under the view category, but they are not the dedicated views. They are just a piece of the view. Okay. Second thing about the fragment is fragment does not contain any controllers. This is an interview question as well as certification question. Does the fragments contains controllers? No. Even though they are views, fragments are also like views, but they don't contain any special controllers. So fragments contains no controllers, no separate controllers, but the fragments use the same controller of the view in which you are opening them. It means, so basically whatever you can see here, this was written in a fragment. So what is fragment? Fragment is also a small view. Okay, so this was written in a small view and this view was opened. Now, since it is also a view, will it contain a separate controller? No. But this particular fragment will use the controller of the view in which you opened it. So where did I open this fragment? I opened this fragment in the view 1. So this particular fragment will use view 1 controller as its controller also. Okay. So here there is a close button, right? Here I am selecting a row. So these are actions. So when you click on the close button, it has to, the fragment has to be closed. To close the fragment, you need to write the logic. So where do you write the logic? In the view 1 controller itself. In the view 1 controller itself. So my dear friends, fragments means lightweight views. But the fragments, even though they are lightweight views, they will not contain any separate controllers. Fragments use the controller of the same view in which you are opening them. If you are opening this fragment in the view 1, then the fragment controller also view 1 controller only. If you are opening the fragment from view 2, then view 2 controller becomes that fragment controller also. So like this, the fragments are small piece of views, but they don't contain any separate controllers. Okay? Right. So once a fragment is opened in a view, okay, once a fragment opened in a view, this fragment also becomes the part of the view. Okay, so even though this is a separate fragment, once it is opened, so it becomes a dependent of this particular view. It becomes dependent of this particular view one. So it has to make as a dependent of this view one. So fine, we'll start the coding, then you will understand about the fragments. So what we do is, so this portion we develop separately in a fragment. Okay, so what is this portion? This is a pop-up dialog, and inside the dialog there is a table. So let us develop it separately in a fragment. The fragment should be created inside the view folder, or you can also create a separate folder called fragments, and inside that also you can create. Anything is fine. So let me create our fragment inside the view folder. So right click, new file, and I am calling this as emptid F4Help, okay, dot fragment dot XML. Just like the view has a dot extension as dot view dot XML, so similarly a fragment should have the dot extension as dot fragment dot XML. Okay, dot fragment dot XML. Click enter. So just like the view have a skeleton code starting with MVC:view and ends with MVC:view. So similarly, the fragment will also have a skeleton code. So the skeleton code is core fragment definition, and it ends with core fragment definition. Okay, so where core is a library which you need to add it here. So XML-ns equal to SAP ns core equals to SAP dot UI dot core. Alright, so XML-ns core equal to SAP.UI.core. So SAP.UI.core is the library name, and this is shortcut name. And bare minimum one more library should be present, that is SAP.yum library. So just like here, see, there is SAP.yum, see SAP.yum library is there, and SAP.UI.core library is there. So same thing, I kept it here. So bare minimum libraries. So this is the skeleton code of a fragment. This is the skeleton code of the fragment. Now inside this particular fragment, I need to develop this pop-up dialog, and inside the dialog, the table code I need to develop. Now let us create the dialog code here. So this is the dialog that I am going to create. So this is called dialog, which is a UI element. So the dialog has a title property. So you can give a title like select an employee, like this. And the dialog contains so many subparts as well. The first subpart of the dialog is content. Content is the first subpart of the dialog. Now inside the content subpart, we need to create the content for your dialog. Okay, so this is my dialog, and inside the dialog I need to create the content. So what is the content? The content of the dialog is nothing but table. Okay, so table code we already have, so I will copy this table code. This is our table code, right? So let's copy the table code. Control C, and you can paste it here. Control V. So this is my table code. I don't need this header toolbar, I am removing it. And in the columns also, I don't need many columns. I need employee ID, name, designation, skill. So that's enough. So I'm removing 3 columns. So similarly here also I'm removing 3 columns. So till here it is enough. Okay. All right. So I successfully created the fragment, which is a small part of the view. So with the dialog UI element, and inside the dialog I created the table. Okay. So the dialog should also contain the close button. So this we will create it later. Okay. So later in today's class itself. One second. Now the next thing is, so we created this fragment, so which contains the pop-up dialog and the table. So this is fine. But this entire dialog, this particular fragment, you have created this fragment inside the view folder. That is fine. This particular dialog and the table has to open when you click on this F4Help button, right? So when you click this, at that time, this pop-up dialog, whatever you have created, so this pop-up dialog should get open. Okay. So how can you open this particular pop-up dialog? If you want to open this particular pop-up dialog, first of all, this entire code, the dialog code is present inside this fragment. So what is fragment? Fragment is a kind of a view only. So indirectly, first of all, you need to load this particular file. You need to load this fragment. You need to load this fragment. See how your views are loading? The views are loading through routing, correct? Are you loading your view 1? Are you loading your view 2? How your views are loading? The views are loading through routing, isn't it? How this view 1 got loaded? Tell me, anyone, how the view 1 got loaded? The view 1 got loaded because when the application get executed in the manifest.json, the routing, so in the routing you can see there is a pattern empty. So when the empty pattern is there, means there is no pattern. So when there is no pattern, the router is telling to call the target view 1, and this target view 1 is calling the view name view 1. So as a result, the view 1 got loaded.